My name is FelicityRoberts and I'm the Holyhead brand officer. And may I also introduce Alun Roberts, who is a community development officer in Plough-Scubby Communities First Partnership in Holyhead Town Centre. We're going to be talking about one specific project that we've done within Holyhead called the Empty Shops Initiative. I'm going to move on. In a nutshell, the Empty Shops Initiative was commissioned and funded by the Holyhead Brand Project, and it was very successfully delivered by Alun in Communities First. Sorry. And it was a way of filling some of the empty shops with new local business. I think this has actually already been up on Carolyn's bad press slide this morning, but one of the main problems that we had in Holyhead was the fact that we had so many empty shops in the town centre. As alluded by Experian, there was a 39% commercial properties that were empty. For the most part, we had charity shops in the town centre, very little national business, but we did have some very strong local businesses still going, and they are still going now. The renting rates were particularly high in our town centre. I think it's probably pretty much the same everywhere else at the moment now as well. This is affecting all of the brand towns, it's not specific to us. And the other problem that was kind of bolstering the fact that we couldn't really get new people in was that the owners didn't live in the area. They were living in London or kind of bigger cities, so it was a kind of out of sight, out of mind concept. It wasn't a great there was no drive from them really to kind of fill the shops, so it was just bringing the reputation of the town down. When the brand project started in Holyhead in the early kind of 2010, we had a brand audit, and the empty shops came out as one of the biggest negatives in the report. As a result, we were kind of looking around thinking, well, what can we do to make this and fill this gap? Dunleary had actually done a pop-up shop initiative, which was, a kind of very innovative, impressive way of filling some of these empty properties. So we decided to put an advert out and see if we could get any local businesses, organisations, or community groups to see if they would come forward with any proposals that they had to fill some of the empty shops. And as a result, Plough-Scubby Partnership came forward with a proposal to fill 5 empty units in the town centre. They were scored and they were awarded the commission to go ahead and do what they do. So I'm going to actually introduce Alun to kind of go through the next slides with you to show you what they did and how they did it. So,
good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alun Roberts. As Felice mentioned, I'm a development officer for an organisation called Plough-Scubby Partnership, and that is partly funded by the Welsh Government. It's a regeneration organisation owned by a community within Holyhead, and it's an area that covers about 1,700 households. But the biggest part of the area is the main shopping area in Holyhead. So if I can just take the liberty, go back and have a look at that table. I'm a resident of Holyhead, have been for about 12 years. Barry alluded to charity shops in Rill. If I could just tell you, if you go back 4 years, our charity shops had half-price sales, still couldn't sell this stuff, and a couple of them closed down. Now, if you couple that with that statistic, it's nice to be top of the league sometimes, but not when you're top of that league. So it's that's the point where we come in. Now, I'm a resident of the town. There's a nice new retail park outside, about a mile outside the town centre, and I'm as guilty as anybody else in the town. That's where I spend most of my money. So you have a community that likes a new retail park out of town, likes internet shopping, and starts complaining, doesn't the town centre look bad? Isn't it depressing? And we're all gullible, we're all guilty of not supporting it. So the question is, what do? Do you let your town centre die? Or do you try and do something about it? Now, this is a common problem, as we're all aware, not just in our area, it's throughout the country. So you have to start thinking, what are the issues here? What's facing the town centre? What is creating this depression? So you look at different scenarios. You look at the property owners, as Felice said, a lot of them from outside the area, they own premises now. Holyhead Town Centre isn't a big area, but the 4 biggest empty premises at this time were 4 national companies: Woolworths, Fads, Ethel Austin's and Quicksave. Some of them been empty for quite a number of years, and obviously had a detrimental effect on the aesthetics of the town centre. So the regulations being what they are in the UK, if you're the owner of an empty premises, commercial premises, you have to pay the business rates on an empty building. Now, if you've got no income coming in, that's a problem. If you're a big multinational that's got a massive portfolio of properties, you may be able to sustain that outgoing. But if you're a local person where money is tight, you cannot afford that outlay. So you've got local people as well as outside people who've got premises in the town centre, and it's a massive, massive headache for them. So this is where I come in, really. I live in the town, as I said, and I was getting a bit depressed about all the negativity and double standards, really, myself included, not supporting those businesses that were still left in the town centre. So what we did, we started approaching the owners of the buildings and said, look, this is a liability for you. It's costing you money. Can we do something to help? And we came up with an idea of getting these premises rent-free. Now, you might think, you know, is that easy or is it difficult? I can tell you it's a piece of cake, because that person who owned that building, who was paying money with no income to have it empty, is grateful for any opportunity to offload that liability. Now, the organisation I work for is a charity, so as a charity we can get exemption from business rates. So the first property that we approached was this one here, which is formerly a Fads DIY store, big national chain, that went bust. It was for sale with an agent that was a few doors up on the street, so I approached him and said, look, you know, we've got to do something here. We're hoping that we can negotiate with the owner. Can you please relay a message to the property owner that we want to talk? Within a day of me emailing to the agent, the owner came straight on the phone. He says, I like what you're talking about. I'm up for it. Now, this person, I think, owned a portfolio of properties, and I got a funny feeling he'd never, ever been to Holyhead, let alone to see his premises. So he had no connection, but he had liability financially. So I said, look, will you give this to us for a year, free? And he said, I will. So long as you take over the liability for the insurance and the business rates, take it off my hands. Now, when we went in, it was full of old wallpaper rolls, about 1,000 rolls of wallpaper being left by Fads. So we stuck a sign outside, wallpaper rolls, £1 a roll, and we sold £500 worth within a couple of days, and then we gave the rest away. So with that, that gave us a little bit of working capital. And the brand came in as well, obviously, with some of that financial backing. We had some staff that were working on environmental projects who were quite capable. They were able to turn their hands to doing a bit of internal walls, plastering, painting, papering, you name it. We had the paper, obviously. And ourselves as development staff, we got stuck in and started, you know, getting out and about and getting the work done. We turned that around in a couple of weeks, and we were lucky. We had a little bit of spare capital. We managed to buy some stock, some gifts that we were trying from day one to make sure that we couldn't compete with your big retailers. You can't compete with Tesco's, Morrison's, Asda's. You cannot. So there's no point in just starting down the road of selling the products that they do. So we looked at niche markets. So we started on local handmade gifts, souvenirs that visitors could buy, and locals as well as gifts. So we did also offer half the retail space to local producers who couldn't afford their own retail premises. So they were offered a showcasing facility, and we took commission off them. Now, we needed staff, so to date we've taken on 3 people that were previously unemployed, and they are now working in these premises. So as you can see, we secured it rent-free up till March 2012. These are premises that were probably attracting rental income of about £20,000 a year 2 years ago. We've gone from a rent-free period to paying rent, so we've started paying rent for the last couple of months. The owner is happier, shall we say. and we negotiated a rent of £50 per week. And that's quite a large retail space. In the basement, that was a big storage area that was surplus to requirements. We now got a local boxing gym. They hire it from us weekly, so they're getting people fit. And at the back, we made an office, and we are renting hot desking space there at sort of £15 a day. So in reality, this shop is costing us nothing. We run this ourselves as a social enterprise, and as I say, we employ 3 people. So that was the first one. We had the local shopkeeper who had the big portfolio of premises, and he says, I've got this shop, Wise Food's been empty for 2 years. And I said to him, well, how much do you want for that? And he said, well, £150 a week, I'm asking. You can have it for 100. And I said, sorry, not interested. I let it be. A couple of months later, he stops me as I'm walking down the street. He says, you have that shop. You can have it. So we had rent-free for 7 months on the premises, and we're going back almost a year. I'd been on holiday, saw these thingamajigs called the fish pedicures. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Why don't we open one in Holyhead? So we went about buying loads of little Gararoo for fish, putting them in tanks. This is a complete group of amateurs now, no idea about tropical fish, just think it's a good idea. So there's a lot of work, staff and volunteers, to get this building ready. I can't tell you how many hours, hundreds of hours. Anyway, 1st of August we opened. On the 30th of August we'd taken £10,000. And I won't tell you what happened next. Unfortunately, we had issues with the fish and the water quality, and it took us a while to sort of get around that. But what happened, we transferred that across the road to the shop that I've just shown you, and we've now got a new office in the same building, which is a credit union, which is big in Ireland, but very, very small in Wales, but we're trying to push the North Wales Credit Union. And we've got what's like a job centre for volunteering. We're trying to bring people who are unemployed to get them skills and experiences through volunteering to enhance their CV and job prospects. So that's taken off, and we've employed 2 people full-time there now. Now, as you can imagine, you're going from depressed town centre to something happening. You've got 2 premises here. You can imagine a couple of weeks of work. People are walking down the streets thinking, what's going on here? So they start asking questions. We'll say we're a community organisation, we're working with a brand project, we're trying to regenerate the town centre. We also started just mentioning to people, have you got an idea? Would you like a shop? And people say, yes, I have thought about opening a shop, but I can't afford the rents and I can't afford the rates. I said, well, do you know what? We may have an answer for you there. So this lady here, the picture, if you see on the left-hand side, that was an old chemist shop that had been empty 2 years. The chemist had retired, the local man, and he said, I like what you're doing with the 2 shops. You have that for a year free. You can have that. I'm not interested in income. Got 2 flats upstairs, quite happy with that. So we were approached by this lady in the middle. She had a floristry business in days gone by, selling mostly potted plants, but when Tesco's opened and started selling plants, the business went down the tubes. But she was prepared to give it another go, and we said, well, you know, let's see what we can do. So she had that rent free for 6 months. The rates were very, very low. And she obviously employed herself. She employed her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. So that's 3 people in that shop. And last week she said to me, I'm opening another shop in another town. Just as a result of the way she's going. And pardon the pun, she's got a flourishing business. So this one here is an example of the transformation that can take place. 2 empty premises side by side, owned by 1 property owner. If you look at the top left-hand picture, there's that lamp post actually which divides the premises. But the one on the right-hand side, he wanted £12,500 a year rent, and the next door was almost sort of as one with this, but there was a dividing partition. I said, you know what, £12,500, you're not living in the real world anymore, I'm afraid. You know, we're getting places rent-free now. So come on, start talking. So we decided that we'd take the 2 units, so we knocked them down to get from 1 unit for £12,500, we've got 2 units for £4,500. So we didn't get them for free, but next to nothing really. So again, with the help of brand and our staff and a bit of spare cash, we went in and we transformed it. Now, we work very closely with the local enterprise agency. Again, lots of people on their books wanting retail premises, couldn't afford them. So we said, look, this is the answer. Can you please let us have some people that are keen and want to open shops. So they came up with 4 ladies who produced handmade goods who were prepared to come in together. They came up with a name. By this time, the brand toolkit had come out with different colours on the palettes. So we got local signwriters to use the palette colours, the brand colours, and the 4 ladies came up with a name. Now, going back to about October last year, as it's happened, 2 of them now have gone to other places and another 2 have come in. One of the ladies makes cakes, and her business has gone so well that she's going to employ somebody next week. And upstairs there were 4 empty offices, and we've started renting those out for £10 per week. So we've got an accountant coming in, she's bringing a trainee with her. We've got a local holiday letting agency going to one office, we've got a childcare agency going into another, and we've got one more that we're hoping to let in a couple of weeks' time. So in that one building that was empty, well, 2 buildings actually, you've got 4 businesses downstairs and you've got 4 businesses upstairs. That's 8 businesses, and some of them are employing staff now. So we are hoping to renegotiate the rent again this August on these premises and to keep it at the same rate. We had a visit recently by the property owner who was blown away. Is a fair comment by what we've done. And he was quite sheepish. He said, I can't believe what you're doing here. We should be supporting you rather than you giving us rent. So I'm going to hold him to that. So I'll hand it back to Fliss.
Thanks, Alun. So, that was a bit too high now. So Holyhead Town Centre in 2012 is vastly different to how it was in 2010. Since the Empty Shops initiative has started, there are now 5 previously vacant units which have been filled. 12 new people have been given the chance of new employment, as well as 8 new businesses have been given the chance to start themselves up. I should have got these the other way around, actually, because in addition to the fact that Empty Shops initiative came in, and I think there was a buzz created around that, a number of new businesses, private businesses, have set up. Venue Walkway, which I'm sorry I forgot to put you on, is a very large cafe restaurant in the centre of the town. I think in Anharad's presentation we saw the signs that we'd put on the walls across the bridge where you would walk across from the train station. Venue Walkway is literally just right in the centre, and they've been fantastic at helping us with events and just generally kind of pushing the brand and getting the business side of the approach within the Chamber of Trade, pushing for brand forward. But I think one of the best things really is that you can see for itself now the vacancy rate in the town centre is just below 20%, and there's a 50% difference there in 2 years. And yeah, I'm just going to carry on. I think we wouldn't have been able to do this without the collaborative approach. I mean, it's not just brand and it's not just Plas Cubby Partnership. Welsh Government have been extremely supportive of what we're doing. Anglesey County Council, economic development within the council, as well as Anglesey's 3 Towns project, who have kind of helped carry on the initial 6-month injection by brand. We wouldn't have been able to do any of this without this new kind of town team model, which, funny enough, has now been championed by Mary Portis after we've done it, which is fab. And we do now have a queue. I think there's about 13 people on a waiting list to have an empty shop now in Holyhead Town Centre. So it really is a case of us finding more money to rejuvenate these buildings and get these people in and give them the chance to start their new business. I think it's something that any town to have a waiting list of people wanting a shop now has probably been a very long time since we've been in a position to have that. So as a result, we have been seen as a best practice model. Earlier this month, we won the 2012 Action for Market Towns Business and Economy category. And then we also won the Overall Wales Winner Award for the innovative project. We've had a number of very high-profile visits. It's a very fetching picture there of me with Carwyn Jones and Albert Owen. Carwyn Jones is the Welsh First Minister. He came to find out how we were all working together and how it was affecting the town centre as a whole. We've had Owen Smith, who's actually the Shadow Secretary of State, and Hugh Lewis, the Welsh Regen Minister, has been to see and had a tour around the shops just to see what we're doing. So hopefully, I mean, this is something that's going to, be transferred to other places, but on a more local model. We've had brand partner towns have all been around. Real City Strategy, Real Town Centre Manager, who I met yesterday, funny enough, and Gwynedd County Council and Flintshire County Council have recently been to have a look to see how that can be rolled out within their areas as well. So it's something that is very transferable, and the premise is pretty simple, really. So it's just making sure that everyone rolls this out and all towns can benefit from this. One of the main aims for us in Holyhead is try to get the negative perceptions attached to it dispelled away. And we have had some fantastic national press surrounding this. We've had lots of local press as well, but these are just some of the headlines that have been splashed across papers and across the internet. Holyhead, a high street phoenix, kind of heartwarming just to see that. Rebirth of a high street, and also how Holyhead High Street is bucking the national trend. So, I mean, it's speaking for itself that it's a success, and long may it continue. So Alun's actually going to talk about what's next, because I think brand's involvement now is, the pilot initiative is now finishing, and it's just finding out how we can all keep working together to push it forward. So, thanks to Alun.
I'd like to say here publicly that we wouldn't have been able to do this, number one, without the brand project, number two, without the buy-in from the local authority and the Welsh Government, and we've got representatives of the Anglesey County Council officers here, and they are very, very committed and driven people who support us 100%. So I'd like to say without them we couldn't have done this. So if you're looking what does the brand project achieve, I've shown you how many businesses have been set up, how many jobs have been created. That wouldn't have happened without brand. It just would not have happened. So you've got some very, very grateful people in Holyhead whose lives have been changed through input from the brand project. Now, as Felice mentioned, there's a lot of publicity being generated, and that in itself has created funding opportunities. The Welsh Government has committed £30,000 for this current 6 months, which ends in September. Has committed another £40,000 for the following 6 months. And we applied to a charitable foundation in Wales, and we're given £20,000. So we've got £90,000 earmarked for another 4 or 5 shops. The next one to open is next week, which is an ice cream parlour, which lots of people said they'd like to see back in the town. So we're running an ice cream parlour as the next week, and we're creating 2 jobs there. That's using locally made award-winning ice cream. We're then moving on to another derelict premises to have a fruit and veg supplier there who grows lots of his veg locally. There isn't a fruit and veg shop in Holyhead Town Centre, so that's bringing one back. And then we're moving on to providing premises for a dressmaker, and plus other people that Felice said are on our waiting list. So there are people out there that are entrepreneurs, they want the opportunity. What they haven't got is the massive money to pay what used to be exorbitant rents and high rates. Going back to that florist that we got rent-free from the chemist, we've renegotiated rental payments to him. He was getting £10,000 a year 2 years ago. He's now getting £1,500 a year off this florist. She has got a sustainable business. As I say, she's opening another premises in another town. They've got a chance, they've got a chance of survival now. And if you're thinking, we can't do this, you can. You go out and talk to your property owners, you give them a lifeline, you give them hope. And the hope that they've had here is they bought into our message, but they are now getting a financial return. It's okay, it's less than they used to get, but there's a return there. So they're sleeping better at night now because they've got hope. And that's something that we're generating jobs, creating a bit of a buzz, and that's having knock-on effects. So, it's watch this space, really, and you're more than welcome to come along to Holyhead to see what we're doing. It's not perfect, we're still in its early stages, but we're hoping that that's sort of reverse the trend and we're on to bigger and better things. Diolch yn fawr, thank you.